De Transformatie Podcast wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Love Fit Food, het platform voor bewust eten, leven en trainen zonder bullshit. Nootrofit, webshop voor natuurlijke voedingssupplementen en trainingsmaterialen voor Total Human Optimization en 12 Waves, de online training voor zakelijke en persoonlijke groei.
Let me introduce Maaike then to you. She's my, what are you, my partner in crime, Maaike? Well, we've been working on Love Fit Food for 3.5 years together. It's my longest relationship ever.
Wow, that's awesome.
And she's a strength and conditioning trainer.
Okay, nice.
And she trains, well, she specializes in the obstacle running people.
Oh, fun.
Is that true, Maaike?
Yeah, quite.
And no kettlebells yet?
Only in training, not for competing.
Oh, Shanette hasn't convinced you yet.
Oh, it's a really funny story.
It's a funny story.
Maybe we should tell it on the podcast. Maybe we should start the podcast with this. I think that's a nice intro. The meeting I'm recording, so. So the funny story is that actually, Maaike was the kettlebell fanatic of the two of us. And she was always training in the dunes, in the sand with kettlebells, and she was the hardstyle kettlebell enthusiast. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah. And then we saw the Dutch nationals, and we saw some people competing with the kettlebells, and Maaike I was like, wow, 10 minutes with the kettlebell, how hard can it be? Totally arrogant. And then we saw a workshop, I think, short after that from Naomi. And so we went there, the two of us, because it's a long drive and it's a 2-hour drive in the car. So it's more fun to go, the two of us, and make a nice vlog from it for the blog. Yeah. And then we went there, and Maaike was like, I don't know, I don't really feel it, and it's a little bit difficult. And Naomi was looking at me, and she's like, oh, you're really talented. So on the way back in the car, Maaike was like, no, I don't think this is my sport. And I was totally psyched, oh.
So Naomi said the right thing to get you into it. Oh, you're a natural. You know?
Yes, she said exactly that.
Looking back and looking at my video clips from that time, I was not a natural. She just coerced me.
And then you have to, because it's such a hard thing to learn, that you have to give people a little bit of confidence while they're learning, or they just get too frustrated, you know?
Yeah. Maaike was very, very frustrated. Yeah.
I've had varying, sometimes I get people that really enjoy that challenge that I coach in it, and then other people, they just get so mad.
What I noticed is that I was using a lot of power and strength within the movement, and a lot of the hard style techniques, and Naomi's like easy. I was like,
too much.
Yeah. And I think I was more lazy and not so strong. So I was just in the back, standing in the back, like this.
Yeah, some people call it the lazy way of lifting kettlebells. I mean, it's more efficient. So I guess you could say that. But then 10 minutes makes it not really quite so lazy.
So Brittany, thank you for being here, for doing this interview. And I'm really excited. I mean, you made quite a name for yourself in the kettlebell sports, the passion that we share, I can say. Can you just quickly introduce yourself to the people that don't know you?
Yeah. Well, my name is Brittany Van Schravendijk. Ik kan ook Nederlands spreken, but we're going to do this interview in English because I can express myself better in English, I think. So I'm a personal trainer and a coach. I live in San Diego, California, but I also coach people online. My main specialty is kettlebell sport training because that's what I compete in at the professional level, and that's kind of what, as Jeanette said, many people know me from. But I love teaching kettlebell fitness. I love doing body weight training. I'm really into handstands and just strength training. I love to help empower women through strength training, like switching their mindset from losing weight to gaining like strength and confidence. So that's something I'm very passionate about as well. I don't know what else.
So how did you get into the kettlebell sport?
So I got into kettlebell sport training because I started working at a gym as a part-time job when I was in college, and this gym happened to be one of the ice chamber gym. So I was working there part-time, and I saw these other ladies bells, and I was like, oh, I think I could do that. Like, I'm just as strong as her. Like, I can do that. So I decided to do the classes, and then I picked up a kettlebell, and it turned out that I could not do that. It was really hard, and I did not know how they were lifting those heavy things. So I'm the type of person that when something is like a big challenge for me, it makes me want to do it even more. So because I struggled so much with the technique and learning it, like it just got me hooked onto the kettlebells. And from there I started traveling with some of the other people at that gym to competitions and kind of really got into it from there.
It's funny. It's the same like enthusiastic arrogance, like, oh, no, I can do that. No problem. That doesn't look so hard.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, oh, that's, it can't be too hard. But for some reason, that time of holding onto the kettlebell for that long, like if you're not used to it, is just ridiculously hard.
Yep.
And the reason I also, and you mentioned it in the introduction, and I wanted to invite you, is because I noticed like a shift also in what you post about, and also I think what you coach people in is the part where you want to empower women and work with body image. And how did that come about?
Well, a big part of it was, kind of a personal shift for me. So when I first started working in fitness in college, and eventually when I graduated, started working full time as a trainer, I was just like working out like crazy, and was like really ripped, like a 6-pack, like I was very, very lean, and I was training constantly. And I think at first when you train that much, like I would say overtrain, like it feels great, and you just get into this like endorphin rush, you're just working out like all the time. But I actually ended up losing my period and not having my period for like 6 years because I was literally at like 11% body fat, and it was not like a healthy place for my body. And so over time, I was still training like crazy, and it didn't feel as good, but I was kind of in this like stage of denial where like I kind of knew that like this wasn't a good idea, but at the same time I had this idea of what I wanted to look like, and I was afraid of letting go of that, or afraid of, getting fat or whatever I didn't think looked like being the ideal personal trainer or my ideal body. And so it wasn't until earlier this year that I finally was like, you know what, this is just ridiculous. I'm stuck in this cycle, and everybody thinks I look great, but little do they know that I'm not actually healthy, because if I was, then I would be having normal, like I would be menstruating, like that's a sign of like a normal, healthy body and healthy hormones. So I ended up I just completely stopped working out for like 6 weeks, and which was really hard for me mentally, and just seeing kind of the shift in my own body. And the place at which I was healthy was something that was hard for me to accept, kind of from an aesthetic standpoint, and having a little bit more body fat. And so I think that really taught me to apply just like self-love and self-acceptance, like really to myself, because it was something I was already sort of preaching, but it didn't really hit home truly until I kind of had to deal with that shift in my own body and accepting it wherever it was at. And I think that, the fitness industry, and especially with social media and Instagram these days, there's this just crazy standard. There's all these, fitness models on there that are portraying a certain body type. And I think a lot of it is just not actually healthy, and it's not actually real. Like, a lot of people on Instagram are like taking drugs to look that way, but people seem to think that that's like
the standard.
Normal. Yeah. And that's achievable and normal, and that's what they should look like, And so it just has motivated me to just, life is too short not to accept yourself. No matter where you're at, you can still want to change some things, but that doesn't mean that you need to apply this whole like, self-critical, like this body hatred towards like things that aren't perfect. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that with women that I've worked with, I've seen many of them just gain so much confidence just through like what they can do with their body, and not basing, their self-worth on what it looks like, but like what cool things can I do that I didn't think I could, using my strength. And I think that's, so much more important than basing your confidence on how you look, because how you look changes all the time. Your body changes at all points during your life, and even just during a week, during a month,
I recognize a lot of the stuff you're telling for the people I train as well, for the women I train as well for myself. But where do you think that it's coming from, that women have this image of themselves? Is it all the marketing around us, or do you have another opinion about it?
I think it's all the marketing. I think it's society and just how we grow up, or what we're taught as we grow up. I even see a difference just between like my mom and myself, and kind of the messages that she was given as a girl growing up versus the messages that she gave me. And I think she gave me some great messages that helped me be really confident about myself. But I even see, for her, that there was things she was told about how to be a lady, or, what is accepted or what is proper as a woman, and how you should look and act, that, I think really affected how she feels about herself. So I think definitely how, people are raised, and that, you can't necessarily like blame their parents. It's also, their parents are just, telling messages that they get from society, from the other people around them. But I do think that's shifting. I think the gender roles and what women are expected to do or look like is definitely changing in a positive way.
Yeah, and it changes. It changes through time. I mean, there was a time that we had to look really skinny, or really androgynous, like we had the supermodels that looked like, neither. And I think, and I'm really glad that this hype about strong is the new skinny is also over, because that was, I think, your pitfall, if I can say it like this. We have this image. It's like the really skinny girls, but just with muscles, and it's actually harder to be looking like that than it is to look really skinny, because you have to work out like crazy and also really restrict your food intake. So I applaud all the women that, I mean, it's just like this is how women look like. We're not supposed to.
Everybody looks different, and everybody has a different size that's healthy for their body. You can't really say like, for this person, this is your ideal weight. Like, it depends. Some people are naturally a little bigger, some people are naturally a little thinner, and that's just how it is. I feel like you just have to embrace where your body is at its healthiest point, and learn to love it that way.
I know for some women, and also in the coaching that Maaike and I do, it's sometimes kind of hard to explain to someone, no, you should love what you have right now, because if you don't love what you have right now, you can also not love what you might have in the future or not. So might as well start with now. How do you approach this in your coaching? How do you help people with it? Because it's really hard. It has to do with transformation, of course, because I believe if you do this, the inner change, then the outer change is either less important or easier.
Yeah. And that's something I feel like I'm still figuring out, because psychology of it is not something that I feel like I'm an expert in. It's just something that I'm learning through working with people. But I think it's so important to do things that make you feel positive about yourself. If you're you take up, like, for example, doing some type of physical training that makes you feel positive about your body and what you're doing with it, and just finding the things that put you in a positive place and not put you into a negative spiral. If you go shopping for clothes and you're like overly criticizing yourself in the changing room, and it puts you in a negative spiral of things, it's like, that's not a good activity to enhance your self-esteem, right? It's like, maybe don't use the mirror and just buy the clothes with
online.
Or buy them online. It's like finding the things that put you in a positive state and a positive mindset, and I think just focusing on overall health and how you feel, so much more has a bigger impact on that body positive self-image than focusing on the aesthetics, focusing on losing weight, focusing on, what can you add to your life? How can you enhance your life instead of, what do I need to cut out because all these things like make me look this way or do these negative things for me? I think a lot of times it's like trying to help them reframe how they think about things or how they think about themselves.
I think what you just, sorry, Maaike.
What you just said, you were saying about what you think about yourself, what you say at yourself, but as well how you feel. And what I noticed in my coaching is that a lot of women, but men as well, if you ask them how they feel, it's quite hard to explain how they feel. They're going right into the head. I feel, no, I'm not asking how you're thinking, you're feeling. I'm asking how you're feeling. Yeah. So I think that as well can be more helpful if people get a little bit more in touch with their bodies and how they are really feeling inside to get into that change.
Yeah, I think we live way too much in our head. That's where that critic is that tells us all these negative things about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, finding things that put you in a state of flow or a state of feeling things more than thinking. I think those things are really important.
Yeah, people get like look at CrossFit or maybe even kettlebells, like, oh, I need to do this sport to look like that girl, but maybe they enjoy swimming or dancing or horseback riding, because I know you're into horseback riding as well. And I think that's a good advice. Just do what you said, like do something that makes you happy, that adds happiness to your life, and don't do it because, well, I need to do this, do some cardio, lift weights because I want to look like some model.
That box of, I did my exercise today. And it's like, well, if you're spending your time exercising, but you hate it, it's like, okay, well then you're trading this valuable time of your life and you're hating it. That's not worth it. It's like, you can find something that you like that could be exercise. I think it's so much more important to find something that you enjoy. For many people that won't be kettlebell lifting, but there's plenty of other things that you can choose, that you like.
Yeah. With some clients, I only work out outside. They don't like to be inside. So we go outside and just climbing trees and ropes and that kind of stuff.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You already said that, like the kettlebell for you, it's because it's a struggle and because it's hard. You like it, but I think it's more than that. I think you have like 7 times the equivalent of like a black belt in kettlebell, 7-time master of sports.
Yeah. Well, anybody who knows me knows that I am very competitive. So I think that's probably part of it. I think I kind of was raised with always kind of being in competition with my siblings a little bit, my dad kind of egging us on. And so I've always been very competitive. So that definitely plays a role. That's the thing that I really like about kettlebell sport is just the way that it mentally pushes some. You were crazy. Like sometimes it's this progression of the technique and the training and doing these things for 6, 8, 10 minutes, that I never would have thought that I could do that. But with the progressive training, it just shows you that actually like you can. And if you're mentally motivated and stay in it, you can physically do so much. And I think that that's really powerful just for life in general. I feel like after making these 10 minutes with a kettlebell, I feel like, oh, you want me to do burpees for 10 minutes? I could do that. Like it just, other things seem easy in comparison.
What is it especially that makes kettlebell lifting so hard to do it for 10 minutes?
Well, I think doing anything for 10 minutes is hard, but I think it's the fact that you can't put the kettlebells down, and I think they're having that like limit on it is just so challenging, and it definitely taxes not just your strength, but your cardiovascular endurance. So your heart rate is up too, and all your muscles are fatiguing. It's like this total body. It
seemed to me as well a little bit of a meditative state after a few minutes, like over and over and over and over the same movement.
Yeah, you have to find your meditative state if you're going to make it through 10 minutes. The thing I find so interesting about watching it is you can tell on someone's face whether they're going to finish the set, because if you can see the panic, they're probably not going to make it all the way, because that self-doubt that creeps in. And so the people that do well, it's like they're in a meditative state, Yeah. I pride myself on having a good poker face. So even though every minute I want to set the kettlebells down, you can't tell.
I know from experience myself that actually having a meditation practice helps tremendously. And I made a really big jump in my reps when I learned to relax during the sets. And I don't know what made the switch. I think I was really tired or a little bit sick, and I was like, nah, I'm not feeling, it was a competition. I didn't really want to do it because I felt sick and tired, and I just did it, and I didn't expect anything of it. So you're like very casually like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then bam, you hit 200 reps. Huh? Why? And then you realize, and you look at the video and like, I'm totally relaxed and not worrying about, oh, and I need to have this count, or she's next to me and I want to beat her. It's like, no, you don't expect anything. And I think the relaxation combining with like practicing your focus and trying to feel your muscles and where your body's at, and not focusing on all the rest of the world.
And I think that's, the good kettlebell sets, which has a good analogy to life, I feel, is when you are just in the moment and you kind of take it minute by minute, like you said, you're noticing how you're feeling, and then you can adjust as you're going. Versus sometimes we get these expectations and we think of the end and we forget to stay in the moment, and that's when everything goes bad. And I feel like it's a great analogy for life to just remember to stay in the moment and adjust as you go, because if you're always just focusing on the end goal, then you're missing the whole point of it.
I can actually feel it sometimes after, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. I begin to think of the end, and then I almost want to do like survival snatchers or power snatchers. Someone that's not into kettlebell sport, that's when you like try to struggle, hold on to do like a couple of snatches, and then you remember like, no, relax, and I focus on this little technique thing that I'm working on, like my hand or my hip or whatever, some detail, and then like magic, you're relaxed again, and you finished another like 1-2 minutes. Just because of the focus on how far am I, and am I going to do this, and you tense up. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, like you said, it's like a moving meditation.
Yep. Yeah.
You haven't been always your whole life into sports as a job, isn't it?
Well, I actually studied civil engineering in college, so I didn't really know what I wanted to study or what I wanted to do. Coming out of high school, I was like top in my class in high school, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go to college and then get a really good job and make a lot of money, and that's kind of the only thing I thought of in terms of my future at like 17, 18 years old. I was like, I don't know. So my dad and my brother are both engineers, so I thought, oh, I'm gonna do engineering. This is like one of the hardest things I could do, right? So I went into school for engineering, and the first 2 years are really just like all these really challenging math and physics, chemistry courses. And so I struggled through it and made it to the, third and fourth years where it's more focused on your major. And so I ended up just not feeling passionate about it. And I remember just all my classmates being excited about this career fair and this company they wanted to work for. And I was like, I don't want to work for any of those companies. This looks terrible. Like, I'm not looking forward to this. My graduation and like working at a company, I don't want to do any of this. So I kind of, during this time when I was struggling, I ended up getting the part-time job at the gym and just like loving it. And as it got closer to my graduation, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. All I know is that I love working at the gym, and I just want to spend all my time there. So I definitely had a little bit of a struggle with that, because it was, challenging to think about like what would other people think if I didn't go into an engineering job that's considered, a more prestigious job that makes a lot of money, and I just leave that for being like a trainer or something, And so I struggled with that for a while until, I finally just realized like, okay, if my dad is disappointed in this, well, he doesn't have to live my life every day. Only I do. I'm the only person who has to be in this day to day and deal with it. And if I don't like it, what's the point? So I ended up choosing to go full time at this gym that I was working at and see if I could make it work, and being a coach. And so far it's worked great. I love it. My goal is to never work a 9-to-5 job and just, figure out how to make it work, and with coaching and stuff like that. So
high fives to that.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's very brave, and I think it's a conclusion. What you said, like, it's my life. He doesn't have to live my life. I think it's a leap forward. If I look at some other people that were in my like high school years and the decisions they made, so I think sounds very wise.
Thanks. I mean, yeah. I think it was the best decision I've made, so I'm happy with it. I realized, especially in the last couple months, that I'm just not motivated by money. Like, maybe that's a kind of a privileged thing to say, almost, because I don't have any financial struggles, and that, my dad helped me pay for college, so I don't have any student loans. So that's, part of the reason why. But I'm just not motivated by this X amount of dollars I'm going to be making. It's like, I'm so much more motivated by, my own fulfillment with my job and what I'm doing day to day, and just feeling like I'm making an impact on somebody's life and helping somebody. It's so much more motivating for me.
And where do you think for yourself you want to go like, okay, you have coaching, online coaching as well. I think you've achieved almost everything you can achieve with kettlebells. Maybe not yet, but like working on it. I see working the double 24s like crazy. I'm like, oh wow, that's insane.
Yeah, those things are heavy.
I know. So what are your future plans?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like I'm still trying to figure out what else I want to do, but I still have my Master of Sport International class that I would like to achieve with kettlebell sport. I have so many like physical goals that I still want to do, like learn how to backflip, climb a bunch of mountains, just like travel to a lot of places. I think one of my dreams that I hope will happen at one point is like becoming a motivational speaker or being invited to speak at events about, just being inspiring, motivating to people on different topics. I think as a trainer and a coach, I would like to just work more with people one-on-one and also learn more about kind of rehabilitation and corrective exercises for injury. And I feel like there's still so much more growth for me in terms of being a coach that really is able to help motivate people to change. Still so much more I can learn there.
Never-ending journey.
Yes,
more knowledge.
Never-ending journey.
The more you know you don't know.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I have that all the time.
And you triggered me when you said you wanted to be a speaker, because I haven't even asked you the main question, of course, of this podcast. What does transformation mean to you?
What does transformation mean to me? I was thinking about this when I looked at the questions that you sent me. I have to remember what I said. What's transformation? I'm like trying to find my answer that I wrote down. Okay, I think that transformation is morphing into a better version of yourself, whether it's physically or mentally, and having like a paradigm shift in the way you think and using it to empower yourself and others.
And what did you use to guide your own transformation? Because you were in it. I mean, 11% body fat for a female is Maaike knows. Maaike, I think you've been that low too.
Yeah, and I also didn't get my periods anymore then. So, like I said, I recognize a lot in your story, and as well the way you feel about yourself at that moment, because I wasn't feeling like ripped and I wasn't feeling like that good looking the moment that I was in that spot.
Yeah, and then looking back in the pictures, you're like, what was I thinking? I was like, how could I not feel ripped?
Funny how
it's one mind fuck.
Yeah, it's funny how we can just see something completely different than what other people see, or just later on you look back and you're like, what?
Yeah. How did I do that? What helped you? Did you have like coaches or mentors or books or podcasts or any insights that helped you that might help other people as well?
I do think that there's definitely some people that I follow on social media that had a positive impact. I like ladies like Jen Sinkler. I don't know if you've heard of her.
You're a Badass, the author.
Yeah.
That lady? Yeah, of course. Maaike and I are big fans of her books. Both of, I love her.
That's Jen Sincero. That's
I'm sorry. Okay, totally
Jen Sinkler, she does a lot of kettlebell. She's pretty well known in the kettlebell and powerlifting world, and she has programs called like Lift Weights Faster and Unapologetically Strong, and just she's a strong lady. She used to play rugby, and I think just she has great messages. One of her friends, Negar Fanuni, she does a lot of work with body image, and she has kind of a similar story of when she used to work as a trainer and being really lean, but she was, you know, totally restricting herself, and now being a little less lean but really strong. A woman named Jessie Nealon, she definitely was a big influence for me in terms of body image, because she talks all about body image and what the media wants you to think, and she has something like she calls cellulite fancy fat, to kind of reframe it in like a different, like, positive way. And she'll post these pictures of like how you give yourself a thigh gap, like in a picture. So she'll post these two pictures of herself, and one of them she's standing in a certain way and then she has a thigh gap, and then the other one she's standing normal and she doesn't. And just the stuff she writes about, I feel like so real and so body positive, that I love that. And I think for me, it was just, you know, letting go and just not working out, whether or not I needed to do that physically. I think I needed to do it mentally, to also let go of like, okay, my entire identity is based on this. Like, just to show myself, like, I'm still me, whether or not I work out. I don't need to do kettlebells to be worthy of this or that, or to feel good about myself. You know, I there's plenty of other things I can do in my life that still make me feel good and make me feel positive, no matter what my body looks like. So I think just forcing myself to stop training and then dealing with everything that came into my head during that time was just the biggest thing that helped me.
And you mean with, sorry, Maaike?
I wanted to ask what her biggest challenge was, because you told us it really helped me. What was the most challenging for you?
I think the most challenging thing was, well, I gained weight and I gained body fat, and then struggling with this kind of back and forth that would go on in my head. Like, I would wake up and I would hate the way I looked, and then an hour later I'd be like, oh, like I kind of like the way I look. And then it was like this exhausting flip-flop back and forth of me constantly judging myself good or bad, and it kind of moving back and forth. So that, you know, that like inner dialogue that goes on in your head, and definitely worrying a little bit about what other people would think. So for me, I knew this was the healthy decision for myself, but I also didn't know if I wanted to share with people why I wasn't working out. And so I was just thinking, oh, people are going to think that I'm lazy, or that I'm, you know, she got fat or whatever, you know, all these things that were going through my head that probably nobody even really thought about, but I was worried about what people would think, you know? And so I finally ended up just like posting about it on social media, which actually another big influence for me in that phase was my friend Kirsten Kimura. She's Urban Jane on Instagram, and she posted about her struggle with not having her period. And so she really inspired me to just share my story about it. Because in reality, it's like, why is it, it's not that weird to share that, you know? And it made me just feel like I was able to help, you know, motivate or influence other women who were having a similar struggle.
And do you see it also in like the people that approach you, or did your coaches change with you? Like we're attracting like other people now than maybe before?
I think I'm still attracting some of the same people who are interested in kettlebell sport and technique training, but I've definitely had, you know, more people approach me with relation to, you know, somebody struggling with not having their period, or, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, somebody who even, you know, wanted to train with me because the other trainer they were working with has no experience with that, and so doesn't understand. So I definitely think there's that element to it.
Yeah. Just remembered, I think this week I saw a post somewhere of, I think it was a guy posting a picture of like, he was looking perfect. And then he posted like a text beneath it, like, I shouldn't post this because, well, you see my butt, my belly fat, but no, let's hashtag keeping it real. It was like not so nice, because there are like perfect people and then posting up, well, keeping it real because I look fat. And like, no, you're still perfect. Just like
it was
they lift on the whole new phase that we're in, like positive body image. Sorry, I think it was Guy Droog, yeah?
It was a joke. It
was. I know. It was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. Actually, there was like an irony to it, that the same as, you know, strong is the new skinny. They don't want us to be the strongest the new skinny. Now it's like, oh, positive body image is the new skinny, you know? But they still look perfect. Yeah. So what are we talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in the defense of somebody like that, they probably still have all kinds of issues with themselves. You know, sometimes it's the people who look the most perfect to everybody else who have the biggest struggle with how they look.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, looking at your pictures, and I know your body has changed and you don't feel as lean. You still look really, really strong and powerful and fit and healthy. And still as well for a lot of girls, like, oh, I want to look like this. I'm thinking that the CrossFit also helps, like, okay, women can look strong and women can have broad shoulders and big muscles and still be healthy.
Yeah, and that's what I love about some of these women that I mentioned that I follow on social media, just talking about, like, there's nothing wrong with being big. Like, embrace if you're big and you take up space. Like, you know, a lot of that, like, wanting to be small is also, you know, in terms of mindset, like, oh, women should be seen and not heard. They should be small and over there in the corner, versus like, no, like, I'm big and powerful and I take up space and I take up a lot of room, and like, that's good, you know. And I like that shift in that idea, and it's definitely helped me also, like, embrace myself at a bigger size. I'm like, it's good, I have more muscle, I'm strong, I can do all these awesome things, you know. So I think that kind of message helps too. And like I said, there's people who are just going to be prone to building more muscle and being bigger, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, Maaike and I have the discussion as well sometimes, because I'm the type of person that builds muscle quick, but also gains fat quickly. I mean, it's the same system. You just gain. And no, Maaike's frame, she has a little bit more difficulty because she's just like another body type. And we can work out the same, eat the same, sleep the same, but still we would look totally different. And what looks healthy on me might not look healthy on Maaike, and vice versa. But if she trains and eats and treats herself right, she will look a certain way, and I will do too, and you will do too. And it's not one clothing size or having visible abs, you know, or I don't know, just looking in a certain way. Yeah.
And that's what's made it challenging for me. Like, as a trainer, a lot of times people want nutrition advice, right? And so I'm like, I don't really do much of that because I am not certified in any kind of nutrition. And I just tell them, like, look, I can give you a few kind of like tips or things that I think are important, but I'm like, I don't want to write you a specific meal plan. Like, how can I know what you should be eating? You know, I feel like it's really should be so like intuitive, but people lose touch with that being intuitive. So I would even be curious to hear from you guys in terms of working on nutrition and things like that. If people ask you for like a plan or they want nutrition guidance, like, how do you approach that?
Well, I think we trained our followers a little bit, but in the beginning, not to ask. When we started, I remember the first seminar we ever did. We didn't have a website. We didn't have anything. We just had a seminar and a story we wanted to tell. And we had this vision like, no, we're not going to tell people what they need to eat. We just have this formula, like the complete meal that has carbs and protein and fat and veggies, and let people decide for themselves what kind of fats they like to eat and what kind of vegetables they like to eat. I'm not going to prescribe them anything. And then the very first question we got was like, yeah, but what do I eat for breakfast? That's the whole point. You can decide for yourself. Just use this formula and you can eat whatever you love. Just stick with this like really simple guidelines. But we got the question in the beginning quite a lot. But I think we made it clear along the way that we also really believe in empowering and eating in a way that works for you, because some people eat dairy, some people eat meat, some people want to eat paleo, and everything can be fine if you just listen to your body and see what works.
Yeah, and it's just like, how can you expect, like, if someone gives you a meal plan for 4 weeks or something and, oh, cool, like it works for 4 weeks, I lost 5 pounds or whatever, and then after that, then what? Like you are paralyzed until you get another food plan. Like, that's just not a way to live your life,
And you learn nothing. And also, what motivated me was that I personally cannot stick to any meal plan whatsoever, because I'm way too, I don't know, I want to decide in the moment, and I get like a little bit itchy if someone tells me what to do. I get like this little rebel inside of me like, who says I need to eat broccoli? What else can I eat besides that? And I think a lot of people, for them is it as well. I don't want to tell them what to do. We want to teach them to learn for themselves. But very honestly, the intuitive eating and being in touch with your body, for me personally, that still is a struggle, because I live in my head a lot of the times. And sometimes, you feel your body is full and there's like no physical need whatsoever to put more food in, and I will still put more food in because the act of eating puts you into your body. And that's something I'm working on still.
And I think almost everybody struggles with that at some level, overeating or eating when they're not hungry, just because of the world.
It feels good.
And too, like there's so much abundance, in the areas that we live, that it's hard not to. There's so much food, and then you get, you smell food, you see food, and it triggers you wanting to eat. And like you said too, there's emotions and other things tied to eating that make that challenging to manage as well.
What do you eat? I mean, what kind of guidelines do you stick to in your own choices?
Yeah, I think now, with getting my period back and having to gain some weight, I focused a lot on eating more fats, because I think for me that was really important. It wasn't that I didn't eat fat. I ate fat, but just focusing on eating like a lot of fat, I think, is what's helped me be able to maintain still having my period while going back to training pretty hard. Because I know for a lot of women, that's kind of hard when they start training again after they have gotten their period back. A lot of times they lose it again. And so I've been lucky. It's been like 7 months and I still have my period despite, training with double 24 kilo bells. So I think I attribute most of it just eating a lot of like healthy fats. And I think my main guideline is I just think about the quality of the food. So I try to eat organic produce. I try to only, eat meat that comes from a butcher shop here that has like grass-fed beef and good quality animal products. And that would be my main thing. Like, I try to avoid most processed foods, but I also don't try not to restrict myself anymore. So I'm like, if I want some ice cream, then I'm going to eat some ice cream, because if I tell myself I can't, then it leads me into this negative mindset, it leads me into this kind of like restricting spiral, or then binging on something because I told myself I'm not allowed to eat it. So I'm just trying to be more just lenient and okay, if I really craving that, well, I'll just have a little, why not? Like, who cares? I train hard. There's no reason why I can't, eat a cookie every once in a while.
I thought Maaike was going to, she wanted to ask, I heard, because I don't see her on the video.
Oh, you can't see me?
There you are.
I think it's a very healthy way. You're dealing with food right now. Not to say I can't have this or I can't have that. You can have everything, but it's all about what are your needs and what are you doing on a daily basis. I think once we said in a seminar, it's like a saving.
Bank account.
Deposit.
Yeah. Like a bank account. You
like
every time you make a good decision, you put money in the bank, and once in a while you can withdraw with ice cream or cookies or whatever.
I like that. I like it. Yeah.
I was wondering, because it's also in this podcast a lot about the hero's journey. Who's your hero, or who was your hero when you was a child?
Who's my hero? Oh, that's a good question. I think my older brother was my hero for a long time. Like, not that he's not my hero anymore, but he was a really big influence for me. Like, growing up, especially in high school, he always pushed me and motivated me to work really hard, get good grades so I could go to a good college and so I could set myself up in life. And he definitely still, he's always there to give me advice. And while he was maybe a little skeptical about my, choice in career at first, now he loves to kind of help offer advice because I, kind of run my own business, and he thinks that's really cool. And he's usually, one I would go to for guidance about many things. I had a coach in high school for track and field who was also a big mentor for me, because he really, I think, started my love for training. Because that was the first time I had done any kind of, organized sport, was track and field. And he was so dedicated to coaching. We would train all year round. And so I think that was a big inspiration for me in terms of, wanting to be a coach later on. Then probably my boss who owned the gym Ice Chamber where I first started working, Stephen Kwong, he was a huge mentor and support for me. And especially when I was kind of making this decision on becoming a trainer, just having so many talks with him about life and what's important in life and how important it is to find something that you're happy with doing, because if you're truly passionate and happy what you're doing, that's when you have the biggest influence on other people. So definitely some of my key heroes or role models there.
Nice. And nice to have such people around you. And for as what you told us in the last minutes, or almost an hour already talking, it seems to me that you, as well as a coach, nowadays do the same for other people, to be that inspirator and to give some thumbs up or heads up when moments are getting hard or when decisions have to be made.
Yeah. One of the questions I guess you guys also gave to me is what do you want people to remember you as after you die? So I definitely, I want to inspire people to live a happy, healthy life. I hope that people, remember me as somebody who's passionate, strong, and sincere, and somebody who inspired them to just live life by their own terms and not be so influenced by society or what other people think that it holds you back, and not just settle for what you're supposed to do and go out and really find what do you want to do, what inspires you, and what helps you, live a life that inspires other people.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful message. That also what I hear, and it is also something that we've talked about before, is the difference about living in abundance versus living in fear or scarcity. What I see you doing is you're living life for the fullest. You have faith, trust, a positive mindset, because you realize, okay, it will be okay, and I want to give it my best, and I want to do as much as possible. Versus, okay, well, let's just stick with what I know, because probably on the other side, I don't know what's going on, or it's more based around fear and not having or not getting enough. And I think more people should come over to our side. It's more fun.
Yeah. Totally
we have
agree.
cookies.
We have cookies and we're not afraid to eat them.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I would love to see you as a motivational speaker someday. So
I hope so.
yeah.
What would the topic be?
Yeah, that was what I wanted to ask as well.
What would the topic be? I'm like, well, I think it definitely would be along the lines of not letting society define you or define how you live your life. So whether that's related to the, body image issues, because that's, a big thing that I feel like I deal with on a day-to-day is, in the fitness world, and how you're supposed to look and be. But also just in terms of what you choose to do with your life. Because like you said, I feel like so many people are limited by their fear of the unknown, or their fear of what someone else will think if they decide to do this, because it's not the typical path, know. And I don't know. I mean, maybe the world needs a certain amount of people that do that, because otherwise who would do the regular jobs, but I think that it holds a lot of people back from just living their life to the fullest, and really finding what makes them the most happy, and that's what keeps them really in touch with their true self, I think.
Yeah. Do you think it's universal as well, or does it hold across cultures? Because well, of course, the American culture is different than the Dutch culture, but in the sense of what you was just saying, I see it in the Netherlands as well. How do you see that? Like, is there like a difference in your part of the world, because I know you visited Holland a couple of times, and I didn't even ask you that. How did you get your Dutch name?
Well, my parents are both Dutch, so they both, come from the Netherlands. They moved here when they were in their 20s, because my dad got a job, with the whole and tech stuff in Silicon Valley. So me and all my siblings were born here, but we've been back to Holland many times because our family all lives there. So actually, I'm a Dutch citizen too. So I really am Dutch.
Because I know you speak Dutch quite well. I was surprised you didn't want to do the podcast in Dutch.
I think after I've been in the Netherlands for like a couple of weeks, I feel much more confident. And then once I get back to the US, I try to speak Dutch with my family, and it lasts like 1 hour. And then we go back to English. And so it's just like struggling over how to say specific words, if I'm trying to express some of the answers to these particular questions. I feel like it gets a little bit dicey.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll struggle. We'll let you do the...
No, both of your English is very good. I think better than my Dutch.
Very polite. Thank you.
We just need more English speaking guests on the podcast. So
yeah, so you can get your practice. Yeah.
So, is there something we haven't discussed that you really would like to add?
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was any other but the questions you asked me.
Yeah, because you told about your struggles and what helped you, but can you tell us what it was like in the most darkest hour, you know, you're probably somewhere before you decided you needed to stop training and do something about it. How was that to go so deep?
I mean, I don't know that it wasn't necessarily that I hit this like rock bottom and then I had to come out of it, but I think it was something that was in my head for years, you know, that I was kind of going back and forth on. And while at first it was kind of like not that big of a deal, after a while I think it just started weighing on me that like, this is not healthy, you know, this something needs to change. And I think I definitely was feeling like low energy. Like some days I would wake up and I would just feel like shit. Like I remember telling like my sister, like I am having one of those days where I just feel like terrible, like physically, mentally. And then because I felt so physically drained, you know, mentally, I just felt like depressed and unhappy with my life. And it would kind of just spiral into like, what's the point of all the stuff I'm doing in my life? You know, like, what is this? And what am I doing if I can't train like this? Then I also like, what is my job? What's the point of that? So definitely would have days where that would all kind of catch up to me, you know? And I think those times were what really made me realize like, this isn't living my optimal life. Like if I'm having these times where I feel this bad, you know, then that means that there's something wrong. Like you shouldn't, working out and it's supposed to help you make you feel good. You shouldn't be using it as a tool to just beat yourself down.
Especially because it's your identity as a trainer. I mean, maybe it's different if you just have a regular job and you train on the side and then you overtrain and going down that path. But I can imagine it was a little bit more difficult because it was your, you know, people knew you as Brittany, you know, the personal trainer and the ripped person. You made your living of it. So the decision to stop and to eat healthier and quit training and take care of your body first was even a bigger decision.
Yeah, but probably. I mean, I think I realized that, you know, I do really prioritize my health over my training. Like if kettlebell training was so detrimental to me that like it was going to mess me up for the rest of my life, then I would, you know, quit it in a minute. So I think that, you know, coming to that realization also that, you know, yes, I love to train and I want to do these things, but if it comes at, you know, the cost of not having my full optimal health, then I don't want to do it. You know, I definitely value my health first. And I think, you know, it's helped me also kind of identify more other people who are kind of stuck in that same rut. And I know there's a lot of women that are still in that, you know, and that's what I hope through some of the, you know, as annoying as social media can be, at the same time, it's a cool tool where you can actually reach out and inspire a lot of people that you don't even know. And so I just hope that that's what it ends up, you know, the posts that I share, hopefully if that just helps one person, like, then that would be worth it.
Yeah. If everyone helps one, we can get a long way.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you sometimes see it also in your gym? You see women working out but they're not still aware that they probably work out too much or do it for the wrong reasons, or how do you approach them, or do you approach them, or do you just let them wait until they find out for themselves?
Yeah, well, I don't work at a typical gym, so most of the people that are there are, you know, at least already into like building skills and building strength. But I definitely, it's very challenging because almost every prospective client that calls or first comes in, you know, when I ask them, talk to them about their goals, almost always it's, I need to lose weight or I need to get muscle tone. And that's kind of like, it's the same answer over and over. And it's definitely challenging to know exactly how to address that, because if you're just trying to get somebody to sign up for a gym, it's like you kind of do have to show them that you're going to give them what they want, because what they want and what they need is might be different, or they think they want this, but they probably actually need this, but you may not be able to convey that to them the first time they come into the gym. So I feel like you kind of have to play into a little bit of like, well, we are going to do this kind of training which builds lean muscle mass and helps you lose fat, and then hopefully as you work with them, you can start to help shift their mindset and their perspective. But that is definitely something that's like it's like a mental battle for me, because I'm like, I don't want to play into this like thing that everybody's looking for, because it's not what we're going to do. But at the same time, like that's what they think they want, and that's what is kind of speaking to where they're at in that moment. So that's definitely challenging.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a thin line. It's exactly as you say, that they are not always aware why they want to be leaner, or why they want to be more muscular, or what drives them in life. If I sum up what you said earlier about what helped you through your own process, is that you had very clear what you wanted to be, what was important for you in life, what your values are, and you were like testing yourself. No, I'm not living the things I believe for myself. And I think it's quite good that you can tune in with yourself that way. Not everybody can do that. And I think a lot of customers and a lot of clients, you see and I see as well, don't have that skill yet. We can help them to tune in a little bit more.
And help them define what it is they want. They think they want a certain look, but if you help them discover what they really want, and it's actually like Brittany, like you said, really in the beginning, to see what they can do with their bodies, not how it looks like and what it brings them in life, and they can pick up the kids, or they can just
I mean, I wish there was something that I had figured out to say to those people that immediately shifted their mindset. But I feel like a lot of it takes just the time spent working with you, and the time spent to start to realize what their body can do in a different way than, just that they need to lose weight. And it just takes time, I think, for them to get to that place, and just retraining. It's almost like just retraining their mindset around exercise, and around eating, and around all the things that, go into forming their self-esteem.
I remember in the beginning, Maaike and I had long discussions about what to put on our website, Love Fit Food. I know we're not going to put in there like that they are going to lose weight or look skinnier or more toned, or because we're like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about feeling good. But it's like you said, that's not what people look for, because they don't realize that that's not actually what I want. And when they start with coaching with us, 99% of the time, the coaching is not about what they put in their mouth. It's what they put in their heads. And
the mouth will follow. The body will follow. Yeah.
And I think oftentimes just even how you feel about what you're eating can even affect what your body does with the food, which is what's so crazy about, just nutrition. What's so hard about like weight loss is just there's so many things that that factor into your body weight, and there's just no way that you can only address it with this training session. It's like, it doesn't make sense, but people kind of expect that, like, if they work with a trainer, well, then I'm gonna lose weight. And it's like, well, I honestly can't guarantee that. I don't feel comfortable guaranteeing that, because it's just, if you spend, 3 hours a week training with me, okay, what are you doing all those other hours during the week?
You don't have the 24-hour option?
I'm going to follow you around with a notepad and a pen and just record everything.
It costs a little, but it adds a lot. Put the cookie down. Huh?
It's not worth it. Or just eat it, but don't feel guilty. What you mentioned actually is a very valid point. What we think in our minds reflects the reactions in our bodies in terms of stress, and how we digest and how we absorb nutrients from the food as well when we're under stress is totally different. And one of the biggest eye openers I had in the eating psychology coaching was exactly that the negative mind chatter, like the negative radio station that goes on and on and on, and you don't really know it, but it's always like critical and looking for things to improve and do better. And then that actually makes my body not digest the food. That keeps me hungry, and that makes it very difficult to control myself. And I have to use a lot of willpower, and then I have this inner rebel that's like, how dare you not feed me ice cream? Let me show you how much ice cream I can eat. So it's like this complex thing that you need some way to it. And I think the best entrance for me is trying to relax and be patient. And even if you don't love yourself now, just pretend that you love yourself. Just like
fake it till you make it. I tell people that too. I'm like, even especially with like positive mindset about things, I'm like, just pretend like you're more positive and start saying things that are more positive, even if they feel like they sound dumb to you at first or something. Like it, I think it's like that. It works. If you do it for long enough, you're trying to shift that pattern, you know?
No, that's the reason for myself. I just surround myself with like inspiring people, good books, nice podcasts. I don't watch television because all you see is like, I don't know, stupid game shows or reality shows. That's not going to inspire me. Yeah. And it's the same, like, not only I try to reprogram myself, but also in the environments that I'm in. And it works. And maybe if you don't feel it in the beginning, and it's a journey. But all of us, we want like the end result now, you know? I had one good meal, one good day, look in the mirror, shit. And
then it's like, well, you still have to keep eating good for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Like you can't just like get to this certain spot and then we're just going to eat junk food. Like that's why it's like so important to find like a balanced way of eating that works and makes you happy, you know? Because it's like you got to think about it as the journey. Your transformation is your whole life, you know? You have your whole life to transform in so many different ways.
Yeah, so start with the end result now. If you want to feel more empowered, do it now. If you want to feel more confident, do it now. If you want to buy prettier clothes, do it now, you know? If you want to smile more, do it now. You don't have to wait.
I love that. That's great. Yeah.
Start with the end result in mind, or start with the end result now. Yeah, in the beginning. And if you don't believe yourself, just fake it. Just pretend. I think that's a nice tip to wrap up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to start living that tip even more now. I like it.
Nice. You pick up. Well, it doesn't really work with weights. You cannot start with 24s. That's kind of like a bad idea.
24, 32. Fuck the 24.
Emancipation. Yes, we're going to do it with 32s now.
But in terms of mindset,
yes,
that's perfect. Yeah.
Actually, I did pick up the. I went to Gregor for a training camp this summer, and we had this like jerk ladder, so we built it up slowly. And actually, I was standing there with the double 24s for the first time in my life. Woo! I was like, "Oh goddamn, this is heavy," you know. And the 22s, I could do like 10 reps in 1 minute, and we had to do the same pace the whole time. And I picked it up, and it was just a little bump, and was like, "No, not gonna happen."
Not today. It's funny how sometimes just that little increment to just like, I think it's more of like a mental, like it scares you and paralyzes you. Because I remember that with trying that with some heavier bells. And it was just like, physically I probably could have done it, but mentally I just was like, no, can't.
Yeah, and it's like you're scary, and I'm scared. Like, okay, what if I drop them, or I don't know, and you just think it's some strange bump that you make. Like, no, just put it down.
Yeah, it's like you gotta first build up that mental confidence before that happens. Yeah.
Maybe someday I'm going to be as good as lifter as you are.
I believe that you'll be lifting 24, so I could see it.
I hope so. Well, I hope to see you again soon at a competition, or maybe when you're in the Netherlands again. When will you be here again? Do you have a trip planned already?
I will be in Europe in next August, because the kettlebell sport summit is going to be in Scotland. So, maybe I'll fit in a trip to Holland while I'm there. That would be super fun.
Excellent. Love to speak to you again then, but hopefully before that time as well. If people want to know more about you, where can they find you online?
They can find me at my website, KBfitBritt.com, and then also on Instagram and Facebook as KBfitBritt. YouTube, my YouTube link is like my full name, but if you search KBfitBritt, then all my videos will come up there as well.
I will make sure to put it in the show notes as well. So,
awesome.
Thank you for your time, and also for the inspiration for me as well. I love talking to you, and you have so much like energy. You can just see it through the screen, like.
Well, I love this. This is super fun, and I've gotten more inspired and motivated for my day now talking to you two ladies as well. So thank you.